Okay, today I'm going to show you guys how to port forward. Basic, simple, hopefully quick and easy. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find your default gateway. And you can do this a couple different ways. If you already know it, go for it. Type it in. But if you don't know how to find it, just try 192.168.1.1. That's a pretty that's typically what the default gateway is. But for those of you who might have a different network setting or whatnot, in Windows you can open up a command prompt. In Linux, open up a terminal, and I believe it's terminal in Mac too, but I don't know the exact command to use. But in Windows, it's ipconfig. Type that in. You want to find your adapter. I'm using Ethernet. Those of you who use wireless, find your wireless and look for default gateway. See, 192.168.1.1. The only other one I've encountered is 192.168.0.1 and 1.2. But it depends on how the network was set up. If it hasn't been changed, it's most likely going to be 1.1 or 0.1. Okay, so once you find that, go to your web browser. Doesn't matter which kind, just open up your favorite web browser. Whoop, and type in your default gateway. Boom, it'll bring you into your router. Now, most routers, when you type it in, a little box pops up and asks you to log in. Mine, I apparently does not. Mine doesn't do that till I click on a tab, and since I have already logged in, it remembers it. So I don't need to do it again till like the next restart or I clear my cache or something. Um, but for those of you who don't know your login information, Google default router passwords. Uh, Probably find any of your password in any of these lists, but like this one, say you got a Belkin, boom, find your password, and then you match your model up with it. Say you have this one, so then you leave it both blank. You just click login and it'll work. From there, once you're logged into your router, you want to search for um, port forwarding. Mine is in the NAT and QA settings. Typically, NAT and port forwarding go hand in hand. I do not remember what NAT is off the top of my head right now, but Google if you don't know. Google is your best friend, um, and will soon be taking over the world. But that's besides the point. Um, Typically, like video games, your NAT, if it's open, closed, moderate, static, depending on the game, that's what it says. You want open. That has to do because your ports are not open; they're closed. So you port forward them to your game console, and then your NAT becomes open. Okay, now that that's out of the way. Um, to do this, each router looks a little different. Um, None of you should be seeing what I have exactly. And if you are seeing what I have exactly, and you installed custom DWRT firmware on your router, then you probably should find a different career or whatever. Because if you can install DWRT custom firmware but don't know how to port forward, there's a problem. Anyway, the application, the name you put here is for your reference. So I have views, I think that's how you say it. Um, that is letting me know that I am using these ports for that application on my computer. Now the port from, I believe well, it's either going to be on your computer or on the internet. One of those two, don't know, but all I know is you take the port that you want to open and you put it in from and to. Now you can like flip stuff around so you can make it like from port 1, any connections on port 1, you can have it go into your router and come out on port 2. You can do that, but that's not going to help you open your ports at all. It's got other purposes, I don't know. And then the protocol depends on what was specified. I guess if you just leave it on both, you're safe. You get the best of both worlds. Both ports are open, or both protocols are open on that port. You don't really have to worry about it. And then the IP address is the device that you want to open the port for. So this is my computer. So that means that this port coming from the internet goes to my router and sends it to my computer. All the information on that port. Now you can do the same thing with game consoles, really anything on your network that has an IP address. All right. Now one more thing before we go, it's really not port forwarding, but for those of you who are here for port forwarding game consoles, this is what I would recommend if you have the setting. Otherwise, it's very tedious and kind of a pain to port forward every port for the games that you want to play. DMZ, demilitarized the zone. That's a mouthful for me anyway. Enable it, put the IP address. It's the same concept as port forwarding. You put the IP address of what you want to open. So I have my game console. I have it statically set on my game console in the network settings for 3. You have to do that, unfortunately. To port forward, you have to have, I forgot to mention that, um, your IP address must be static. Well, it doesn't have to be, but it definitely helps because sometimes DHCP cycles your IP addresses, but static. And if you're, for some reason, comes like your port's closed again or something, something messed up, check your IP address. It could have changed. Anyway, DMZ, you put that for game consoles. I would only recommend using it on a game console. I wouldn't use it on anything else. What it does is opens every port automatically. Just every single port is opened. So it makes it really easy. It's really nice for video games because you can you don't have to individually enter all your ports for Call of Duty, all your ports for Gears of War or whatever you're using. They're just all open. You're good. You don't have to worry about your net. It should always be open. But don't use it on the computer because ports are a line of defense for hackers, or I mean for for your computer. It's a security. It's for security. Like if you get a virus and that virus is trying to steal your social security number and destroy you to life, but it only goes out on port 4 and it's not open, then they're not getting your social security number. But if you DMZ your computer, doesn't matter which port they send it out on, it's gonna get out because every port's open. Anyway, moral of the story: DMZ consoles only, and port forwarding applications on your computer. Pretty much it. Hope this help some people. Good luck to the rest of you.